Mayor live, very live, because we're going to reveal to you something that the national media seems to avoid. So these riots, these are not peaceful protests. They begin. That's a cover. I mean, we should have figured that out in 2020. We certainly should have figured it out last summer with the university stuff going on. These are planned riots. All you have to do is go on social media and see all the communication they're doing with each other. They are planned in advance, waiting for the opportunity. So rarely do they create the opportunity. They can't, but they'll take advantage of the opportunity. For example, January 6th. Before January 6th, for 6 months, the left-wing groups were communicating each other to come to Washington that day. There were 250 or so Antifa members in the January 6th demonstration, whatever you want to call it, riot, that have never been identified, and the government has never really given a damn. Even though there's how do I know that? There's an email that says it. I mean, I didn't go count them. And it may not be true, but there's an email that says it from a guy whose brother is now in jail. And I've had identified for me several of those members by people who have infiltrated Antifa, including the people that were involved in the shooting of Ashley Babbitt, which they don't seem to give a damn about. So these things are planned. This one was planned around using ICE as the justification for a riot. Because you can't riot against the enforcement of federal laws. You can't, even a peaceful protest is kind of a little suspicious, isn't it? What are they protesting? They're not protesting for civil rights, and they're not protesting for anything but allowing mass violation of federal law and destroying the United States of America by having open borders. But in any event, they do have a right to do that in America. But they don't have a right to throw a rock. And they don't have a right to burn things. And they don't have a right to put cars on fire. And they sure as heck don't have a right to loot, which gives you an idea of who they are. Now, there are these not-for-profit groups. And they always sound like wonderful things, these not-for-profit groups. But a lot of them are just covers for left-wing activists and left-wing activists against the United States. So take a look at this. This is a poster or a notice put out by a group that has a very interesting name, Operation Healthy Hearts. So Operation Healthy Hearts, by the way, just got its tax exemption, which should be taken away today. They sent this out. It says, volunteers needed. Make and distribute PPE kits for protesters and jail support. Now, when I explain to you these PPE kits, what you're going to find out is these are things that help people navigate a riot and blunt the efforts that the police can make to stop an illegal riot. So they want people to make and distribute PPE kits for protesters and jail support. So jail support assumes that a number of them are going to violate the law, doesn't it? Oh, no. Well, they would say, of course, the police just arrest you for no reason. But let them say that. That isn't the law. And we know that that's not true. So there's the rest of it. They've got some dates there. One of them is quite a few days before the original protest took place, which means this thing was planned several days in advance. Tuesday, 6/6, they were making up kits for a riot so they could riot about ICE raids that hadn't taken place yet. They didn't take place until, what was it, the 8th. And then for Thursday, 6/12, and for Sunday, 6:15. But we haven't gotten to 6:15 yet, and we haven't gotten to 6:12 yet. Today is 6:11. So they continue. They have every expectation of going on, and they give you their contact information. Operation Healthy Hearts, for more information and to sign up. And then on the other side, of course, they ask for money. See if you can get us some money, and they have a telephone number. Maybe you want to call them and tell them to go to hell. They just got their tax exemption. This should be enough to take away their tax exemption. Certainly during the Biden era, if a Catholic organization or a conservative organization did something like this, they'd take it away like that. They were taking the tax exemption away for being pro-Trump. So, but it even gets worse than that. That's Operation Healthy Hearts, run by. As I said, it might be a fairly new one. I don't know what else they do, what Healthy Hearts does, but they pass out goggles and gear to help protesters evade tear gas and rubber bullets. So you think about that. What's the tear gas for? To disperse rioters when they start violating the law. So this gives them a chance to evade that, avoid that, withstand that, so the riot can continue and get worse. Isn't this aiding and abetting a riot? Operation Healthy Hearts, I guess, according to this, organizes food services for the homeless. But it has a long history of pumping out radical left-wing activist messages. And it's been denouncing law enforcement since the protests started on Friday. In fact, they preceded what was supposed to be the proximate cause for this, according to the useless Mayor Bass, who says that, ICE caused this. Well, they knew ICE was going to cause this 3 days before. This is just like all the information I have about January 6th that was ignored. That much of it was orchestrated by the left wing with suspicious involvement of the Speaker's office, Speaker Pelosi, who never turned over any documents, I don't think, right? In fact, one of the times when she was drunk, she apologized for it, I think. And Alexandra Pierce, who's a volunteer for the group, is quoted as saying, "Police are attacking journalists and protesters." For no reason? I don't know. The guy that got arrested for throwing the Molotov cocktail, he wasn't a policeman. The people you see that were bashing up the police headquarters uninterrupted weren't police officers. I haven't seen the police officers do anything but act in a defensive posture. And once again, Operation Healthy Hearts is a tax-exempt nonprofit. Just got the status. About time to take it away, and maybe a lot more. Now, another group, which seems to have gone even further, is a group called LA Poverty Department, Skid Row History Museum and Archive. They're passing out this thing. This thing is encouraging people to set police cars on fire. So can we put this on, Ted? Let's show everybody this. This is the LA Poverty Department run Skid Row History Museum and Archive. And it advises radicals to set police cars on fire. And it was among the groups that was identified distributing this and other paraphernalia to help the continuation of a riot on Monday. So now they should be arrested. This group should not be tolerated. This is what you got to do if you want to stop this. You've got to crack down on these people. This is the whole infrastructure that supports these. And this infrastructure exists in pretty much all the blue cities that are all disasters anyway, right? Their budgets have fallen apart. Crime is crazy. And it is quite clear that the instructions to the National Guard and the Marines are to be entirely on defense. They don't make any arrests. The arrests are being made by ICE and the police department. They're there, the National Guard and the police are there under the authorization of Title 10 of the United States Code, which allows the president to do exactly this. It allows the president to deploy troops, the National Guard and whatever, right? It allows him to deploy troops if he can't, and if he doesn't have confidence that you can faithfully execute federal law. Now, what does he need to not have confidence that you can't faithfully execute federal law than the mayor actually going on saying she's not going to follow federal law? This case should be a very easy one for Judge Breyer, who has it in San Francisco, because the statute decides the case. The statute, which I'll show you, I have it right here. You know, I am a lawyer, a real lawyer, not like them. And that's the reason I was disbarred, because I'm a real lawyer. Here's the statute. This is 10 United States Code, section 12406. Can we put it up, Ted? And I don't know if they can see that. Can we make that any bigger? I don't know. People may be able to see that on television, though, right? At 12406, National Guard and Federal Service. Whenever, I'm going to read you the relevant portions. So we go to 3. The president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. That is exactly what he was facing on Thursday and Friday. They were interfering with ICE executing the federal laws against illegal entry into the country. And the mayor was saying that she wanted ICE to get out. And then the president, if that's the case, if the president is unable with the regular force to execute the laws, okay, the president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard in such numbers as he considers necessary to execute those laws. You can't be any clearer. Now, also, they're trying to act like this never happened before. It's happened 30 times. When you have jerk governors like this one, when you have a Governor Wallace, or I think it was Orville Forbes in Arkansas, when you have governors like that who think they can violate federal law. And of course there are states' rights, but there are also federal rights. This is something that is clearly not a part of states' rights. States do not have the right to have their own immigration laws. The immigration laws are set by the federal government. The Supreme Court has been clear on that. The Democrats have used this to their advantage by stopping people like Governor Abbott from being able to use state resources to stop illegal immigration. In fact, they got the authority to do it and they never exercised it. So Abbott just continued because they never exercised it. And Abbott now has called out, or he's called up the National Guard in Texas. So the president doesn't have to do it. And any responsible governor would do that if, in fact, they're beginning to experience problems in Dallas and Houston and I don't know about San Antonio, maybe, I don't know. I don't know exactly where the problems are, but Dallas is one that already has had a demonstration. The best, and by far, without any doubt, the most eloquent explanation of this is in a very, very short column in the New York Post by a columnist named Daniel McCarthy. And I'm going to share some of it with you because I think in a very concise way, it explains what's really going on, which is, of course, being covered up as much as humanly possible. What he says is the riots aren't just about illegal immigration. They're part of a revolutionary movement called anti-colonialism. The ideology of anti-colonialism says that imperialism and thoroughgoing racial exploitation never ended and never can end, not until settler and colonizer power is overthrown everywhere. For example, Israel is the focus of the most vitriolic and violent rage. But the United States is just as guilty of being a colonial state. Mexico is the best example of that. All of Latin America is America's Palestine to these people. And when illegal immigrants cross the border and resist deportation, they have every right to do that because we took this land from them. We colonized it. Palestinians have launched 2 intifadas against Israel on this basis, 1989 to 93, and 2000 to 05. And you will notice, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know what they mean, that in these protests, you'll see signs calling for an intifada in the United States. And people joke about the Mexican flags being waved. But they're not being waved just for the heck of it. They're being waved because they believe that this territory was colonized by the United States and taken from Mexico. It was colonized by people. And a lot of them from Spain, but from all other places. It was organized a lot by the Jesuit priests and the Franciscan priests. That's why you have places like San Diego and San Bernardino and San Francisco. The San means saint. And they followed the missions that were put up by the Franciscans and the Jesuits. You can go from the very border of California up to San Francisco, and at one time there was one mission after another. I mean, it is strange that what was the most venal city in this country, San Francisco, is named for a saint. And so was San Diego, St. James, brother of St. Peter. Mexico claimed parts of Texas, and there was a war. And the United States won the war against Mexico, not against the original residents. If it wasn't going to be controlled by the United States, it'd be controlled by Mexico. Think Texas is better off as part of the United States than the corrupt government of Mexico run by the cartels, where the economy is the economy doesn't get shared with half the population. They're all impoverished. Best thing that ever happened to Texas was that the United States won that war. But they wouldn't be run by the original inhabitants. They'd be dictated to by what is a very, very left-wing, if not communist government of Mexico. So this is ridiculous, as McCarthy points out. And then he goes on to explain the January 6th riot and the shock the left wing had that such a thing took place. He considers it a riot. Still, I'm not sure you would consider it a riot. Because up until then, left-wing protests were allowed. And they were even expected to be violent. I mean, after all, these people have been put through such terrible things, they were allowed to riot. Well, he points out that the January 6th people legitimately meaning they really believed, that the election had been stolen from them. And their country was going to be taken away from them by becoming a dictatorship. If you steal an election, the next step is to create a dictatorship. And the Democrats are weren't trying to do that. This whole lawfare thing and going after your opponents, I mean, they complain that Trump is doing it. I mean, he hasn't even put his foot in the water. They did it en masse, including yours truly, who they went after. So he said that the left wing went crazy when they saw January 6th. And when you compare January 6th to the riots that they did all through the summer of 2020, and none of them went to jail because the Democratic politicians got them out. And January 6th, when nothing was burned, and no police officer was killed despite the lying. In fact, Trump supporters were killed, murdered. There's no comparison between the two, nor is there a comparison what's going on right now. Even the scuffles with the police didn't involve throwing Molotov cocktails at them or burning their cars. They took place in engagements, physical engagements, some of which probably the police caused, and some of which the protesters caused. But you don't see Molotov cocktails being thrown around, or automatic cars being set afire, or the right wingers that were in the city and not there weren't looting any stores, were they? If January 6th had been this group, they'd have looted all the stores in Washington. Because the people on January 6th were basically legitimate people. These are at the core thoroughgoing criminals, or people who get paid to act like criminals. The lesson all Americans have to learn is this kind of violence will keep expanding as long as it's tolerated in the name of progressive causes. And that's what they do. They tolerate it. And they cooperate with it. And they give it they give it material to help it. And then they end up making the perpetrator Donald Trump. In the timeline that I went through before the show, every entry for Newsom was his obstructing whatever Trump is doing. There's not a single thing that he did to try to quell the riots. Not a single thing. There's no entry for anything he's done to quell the riots. Not even a statement that this will not be tolerated, really. Because they do this peaceful protest thing as a cover. When you know that a peaceful protest is going to turn into a violent riot, you don't encourage the peaceful protest. If you want to make the point that the immigration laws are unfair, maybe there'd be a better time to do it than when there were a bunch of agitators around who want to burn down the city. Maybe somebody should say that to them. Yeah, it's your own free choice, but if you like your city burned down, do the demonstration now. As long as it's tolerated, this will not stop. The premises of anti-colonialism call for intifada, not just in Palestine, but right here in America. Law and law enforcement has to prevail in Los Angeles, but this is a battle that must be won in the classroom and in the conscience, as well as in the streets. Well said. Well said. Americans who fail to recognize a radical premise when its consequences are broadcast on the nightly news, and world news too, are bound to extinction. Well, I told you that these Waymo driverless cars are used quite a bit to do this. And there's a method to their madness. Well, first of all, they can avoid a possible murder charge because largely there's nobody in them, right? But second, the lithium battery, and they're very well aware of this, it's in some of their literature. The lithium, and they're encouraged to, as you see, they're encouraged to blow up police cars. But there's also literature showing they understand what they're doing. They're burning up these cars with the lithium batteries because, first of all, they're much more flammable. The fire that emits from them is much stronger and a much better chance it's going to ignite the entire neighborhood, and it'll last longer. But it also emits very dangerous, toxic fumes. So let's see if we can give people cancer. After all, the group like Operation Happy Heart, or whatever the hell they call it, they got a tax exemption, is given a mass and all kinds of things, so they don't get affected by it. But you will, because Operation Happy Heart doesn't give a shit about you. You're probably a conservative, and they really are not in any way charitable organizations. They are covers for communist organizations, and they're covers for nihilist organizations. Now, I say they're cover for communist organizations. They're getting plenty of money from groups that are connected to Red China. That's also been demonstrated. Hopefully, it's going to be proven in a money laundering case, which I have every reason to believe they're putting together. And the Democrats are telling you there's no violence here. This is all caused by Trump. I cannot believe anybody buys that. I can't believe it. Maybe somebody buys it. I don't know. Now, it's very interesting that San Francisco is trying to show that they're better than Los Angeles because, as you know, their new mayor, Daniel Lurie, was elected as the more right-wing or middle-of-the-road candidate as against the Soros-supported, with multi-million dollars candidate. Now, Lurie himself was able to self-fund because he's a Levi Strauss heir. And he's already become much tougher on crime. There's already been a reduction in crime at about 30%. He's dispersed a lot of the homeless encampments. And the district attorney, Brooke Jenkins, who also has taken a tougher stance on crime, seems to be on the same wavelength. San Francisco is a city that understands the will of the people, but we also stand for public safety, and I'm the face of that stance, says Brooke Jenkins. So when the protests broke out on Sunday, that were quite a bit less extensive, I mean, by a lot, than in Los Angeles. Despite that, they arrested twice as many people. And the progressive groups are saying, like Jackie Fielder, a progressive member of the city's Board of Supervisors, we have protests all the time, and it's not met with this level of force. It was absolutely jumping the gun. Yeah, it was jumping the gun before all the stores in San Francisco were destroyed. Thank you. Maybe he did jump the gun a little, but anticipation is what intelligent people do. And then, and in the case of Los Angeles, we know they're incapable of it. I mean, one of the other things the president had to take into consideration in deploying the National Guard is the record of these people who are combined as the government of Los Angeles. You can't forget the fires there just a little while ago. The mayor, who now does nothing but complain about ICE and tell people how terrible ICE is. And if ICE would only go away, this would all go away. Because if ICE went away, then in essence, California would have seceded from the United States. It'd be a state with its own laws. Think of it this way. Suppose a state wanted to have its own foreign policy. You're going to say that's a matter of states' rights? We couldn't have a country if the state had its own foreign policy. We also can't have a country if people are willing to accept people who came in here without being checked at all and without any restrictions on numbers or we don't know how many Chinese spies came in, do you? We don't know how many terrorists came in, do you? We don't know how many child molesters came in. Seems like a lot. And in the process of trying to reverse this, of course you're going to arrest some people that don't fit into that category because they came in mixed with them. And you can't tell the difference between them before they check. Almost none of these people had a basic check. First of all, if you come from 6 or 7 of the worst countries, there's no way to do the check. They're not going to tell you the criminal record. You got to go through quite a bit of intelligence work to get it, but you can get it. The Biden people didn't even make a cursory check. So, and by and large, you can say this as just a general statement. We don't know who came here under Biden. And we know that some of them are really bad people, the worst of the worst. We can debate the numbers, but they sure seem to be pretty high when you make these arrests. Well, we'll take a short break, and then we'll be right back. Is that what you were mumbling about? Ted? U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Well, this is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back with America's Mayor Live. Now that there's some time to do a little investigation, it turns out that these riots from the very beginning were a lot more violent than the censored media allowed us to find out. The indictment today of two people that threw Molotov cocktails, two other people that were involved in throwing objects that could kill people. The fact that a lot more arrests now for violent interchanges with the police. So you have looting that's going on. You've got Molotov cocktails that are being thrown. You have, as we pointed out, the use of incendiary devices with cars, particularly with the cars with lithium batteries. You have attacks on the police directly. You have attacks on ICE directly. Now, the Democrats are finding every excuse for this so that it continues. The speech by Pretty Boy was a except for the one thing. And they you sure can come to the conclusion they do it because they hate the United States. Look at them burning the flag. What do they have to do? They spit in the face of our law enforcement people and our military, and they burn our flag. And then the Democrats are on their side. They're on that side. Why does anybody vote for them? Maybe if nobody voted for them, a party would develop to take the place of the Democrat Party. Look at that. I was surprised that Trump only said 1 year in jail. And probably that's all you're going to be able to get, but I don't know. I'd be willing to put that guy away for 10 years. I don't even want to tell you what I do for a second offense, but probably that he'd get me off the air or something. So I think it's pretty clear that politically, this is going to work out very much in Trump's favor, and historically as well, particularly if you can turn this around. A strong stance now at the beginning could really turn this around. And then they're holding flags of other countries, and they're burning the flag of the United States. What else can they tell? What else could they possibly tell you? I don't know. The United States Senator wants him to send in more troops. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but you better hold them for other places. There are going to be other places that might need them. There's not a problem if the LAPD is allowed to do its job, and she was not allowing them to do their job. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This dispute about was there a 50-minute delay or a 2-hour delay? There's been a 10-year delay. They deliberately don't enforce the law, and they don't cooperate by law with ICE, and they demonize ICE. How often have you heard Democrat politicians call them Nazis? Well, how do you think that converts for these bums in the street? New York, there have been protests in 12 cities, none remotely reaching the levels of violence in San Francisco, but they haven't been peaceful. The one in New York that took place yesterday, the anti-ICE protest in Lower Manhattan that took place on Tuesday, did involve a significant amount of hurling objects at offices and in general. And they surrounded Federal Plaza and Foley Square. Many of them were associated with the pro-Palestine movement. They threw water bottles. They filled it with ice water because it becomes heavier and can do more damage. I don't know if anyone was able to get the literature that was given out in advance like we have here, but this seemed to be a rather orchestrated attempt to create a riot that, of course, the best police department in America put under control. Now, I want you to know, do you know, I pointed this out once on Fox, and they were shocked. You see the white shirts? See those white shirts? Those guys are all upper-level officers of the New York City Police Department. See that guy in a white shirt? He's either a lieutenant or a captain. So you have regular police officers, you have sergeants. They wear blue. When you go up to the level of lieutenant or captain or inspector, you wear a white shirt. What I'm telling you is the New York City Police Department puts its supervisors out on the street when you have a riot so that they can help direct and assist the younger and less experienced members. It makes a very big difference. I pointed that out during the Rodney King riots, and nobody seemed to know it. There you go, that guy right there. Now, you also notice they're older. That guy in a white shirt is probably a captain right there. That's a very high position within the New York City Police Department. And I want to point out to you, to become a lieutenant, become a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a captain, you got to take a very difficult exam. So these are very intelligent people as well. And those standards have been reduced a little, but not significantly. Not significantly enough so that there's going to be a tremendous difference between then and now. Very few police departments take their upper level officers. There's at least a lieutenant holding the guy down on the ground. And the young guys are watching how to do it. It also gives them a lot more sense that they're being protected against unfair charges if their supervisors are there. Not many police departments do this. I don't know if Los Angeles does it or not. When Bratton was the chief of Los Angeles, he may have introduced it, having known about it in New York. Although, if he tells the truth about it, he would tell you it's a totally different experience in Los Angeles than New York. He would say what Bernie Kerik said, God bless him, and may he rest in peace, that it's very different when you have a mayor that's supportive and a mayor that isn't. And in Los Angeles, he didn't have the support that he had in New York. Nor is the police department anywhere near as big. It's only one police department in a county that has maybe 15 others. And they have to depend on mutual assistance, which works out pretty well in Los Angeles. It's not that it doesn't work, but it takes more time. You got to go to another mayor. You got to go to another police commissioner. They've got to all have been trained together. It can work, but it takes a lot more work to have it work. President Trump has said he doesn't foresee having to use the National Guard in New York. Now, this came after the chief of department and the deputy mayor for police went to his golf course on Saturday, and it's described as palled around with him. And they assured him, well, I don't know what they said to him privately, but they assured him they're not going to let it get out of control. Now that is definitely a captain. Looking at his age, and he didn't even get any help with that scum. I'm sorry, with that guy. Now he's got some help. They seem like they're walking him around, maybe to calm him down. But notice we don't have like 15 police on him. At the beginning, it was just a captain. Here you got 2 police on this guy. And they seem to have gotten handcuffed pretty damn fast. You notice in a lot of these riot things, it takes forever to handcuff somebody. That's if you really aren't that effective as a cop. Now look at this guy. He's got all that stuff on him, like he's Yasser Arafat. Somebody should tell them that the reason they wear that is to keep sand out of their ears because of the desert. And New York is not a desert. Well, this all involves 80 arrests. So think about that. In Los Angeles, where the riots were in 3 different places, there he is. The chief of the department and the deputy mayor for public for the police department. That's a good idea. Give him some personal assurance that you're going to take care of the situation, and his ICE agents aren't going to get the shit kicked out of them, and the federal building isn't going to get destroyed. No need for troops with the NYPD. Now, if it's necessary, he'll do it. So that was Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Kaz Daughtry, and the chief of the department, John Chell. Now, Kaz Daughtry on the left is Mayor Adams' #1 advisor on police. I don't know how much advice Adams needs on police. He was a policeman, but it still helps. I was a law enforcement person, and I needed help. And then John Chell is the highest ranking uniformed officer in the police department. The police commissioner is a commissioner, not a chief. and doesn't wear a uniform. It kind of follows the model of our military, civilian control, whereas most police departments are run by a uniformed officer like the chief of patrol, Chief Chow. Well, other things did happen in the world with all this going on. We reached a trade deal with China. We have a handshake on a trade deal with China. We had one 2 weeks ago too, right? So who knows? But the deal seems good. I mean, we don't know all the details of it, but the main detail that we do know is a lot fairer than where we were, and that is that their maximum that they can charge on what we export to China is 20%, and the maximum we can charge is 55%. And that you say, well, why? Well, because of the deficit that we have. That reflects a way to correct the deficit. So that's a good thing. Also, the World Bank has made a very strong statement on behalf of Trump, which is rare. You know, these world organizations are all basically they're saying that the tariffs are necessary because America has been treated in a very, very unfair way that if it continued would have a tremendous impact on our economy, and that Trump had to do these tariffs in order to straighten this out. And they urge countries to cooperate in straightening it out. China is a different story. I mean, China is not just an economic problem. It is, and a big one, but China is a national security problem as well. But if we can get the numbers right so that our economy isn't affected and it isn't hurt, at least for the period of time that we have necessity to bring things in from China. If at the same time we're doing what Trump is doing, which is to try to make ourselves independent of China, this would be a good transition. I think, until I see all the details, I really can't tell you. But they walked away from the conference with a handshake. They said it basically is going to follow the outlines of the deal they had before, where they both accuse each other of violating it. And the American representative said that, and the Chinese representative affirmed it. And now I guess it goes back to Trump and Xi to make sure that there's not something in it that they disagree with. And as I said, the World Bank, Indemet Gill is the chief economist for the World Bank. And he said the situation could not be sustained indefinitely, the unfairness to the United States. Foreign countries engage in unfair trade practices with the U.S., and he urges the nations to ease their tariffs on American exports. When he was challenged about Trump's actions and how difficult they were on the world economy, he said Trump's actions were merely a response to uneven trade access between other countries and the U.S. Other experts of the World Bank agreed with him, particularly with regard to Europe, Japan, and China. They should all take steps to reduce trade barriers on the United States, while calling for an across-the-board rollback on tariffs on all sides. So that's a pretty damn courageous thing to do when you're part of that World Economic Forum group of anarchists.
And it's going back to the trade deal of President Trump. This was his announcement just a few hours ago.
And of course, the most important part were that the part that he points out, full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. We are getting a total of 55% tariffs. China is getting 10%. I thought it was 20. Relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, he may be putting a nice gloss on it about relationships being excellent, because there's a 50-50 chance this will go through and they'll actually do it. And of course, the situation with the students, some people are very concerned about, but we're in control of that. If we assume we're going to do the vetting that we should do, then we're in control of how many students we take and who they are. That doesn't say we got to take anybody they send, which is what Biden did, and never checked them out. In fact, when they did a check, there were only 4 questions that were allowed for China. He sort of did the opposite of what Trump has done with the limitation on entry into the United States from certain countries. He's taken the countries, he took the countries that are the most dangerous, and he reduced the barriers to nothing. Just 4 questions for the Chinese. And a lot of them never even were asked those questions. They were brought in under that CBP-1 program where Biden just about gave him a private jet to come in. Those were probably the good spies that Xi really wanted here. I mean, he was into Xi for a lot of money. What we know of is 31 million. Imagine having a president of the United States that had been paid off by our chief enemy. It's absurd what we were going through. We haven't reached the depth of it. I mean, people get shocked. They get shocked about the derangement conspiracy, and they get shocked about Hunter Biden. And nobody ever tells them that Hunter Biden has put in writing the fact that he was paying his father for 30 years. They just leave it out. And the chairman of that committee seems to be too much of a numbskull to be able to focus on it. But this country has not yet caught up with how bad the Biden administration was. And it hasn't caught up with the damage it's done to us. You want to blame a president, you blame Biden for letting these people in. And there's a unknown number of them. And with regard to most of them, we don't know who or what they are. You can say they're hardworking people that want to work, and I can say they're criminals, and we really don't know. We really don't know. We sure know that some of them are criminals. I mean, a lot of them are sitting in that Los Angeles jail. We went through their records last night. Pretty scary. I mean, you got murderers, you got attempted murderers, you got a lot of sexual perverts, thieves. Well, Iran is another situation. The president, in his interview with Miranda Devine of The Post on her podcast, was very, very pessimistic on reaching a deal with them. He said, "I don't know. I did think so, and I'm getting more and more less confident about it. It would be my." What happens? She says, "What happens if it doesn't? If they don't agree to no enrichment, no nuclear material in their country?" Well, if they don't make a deal, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. It would be nicer to do it without warfare, without people dying. But I don't think I see the same level of enthusiasm for them to make a deal. I think he's kind of easing us into it, isn't he? And the world. I mean, obviously, Bibi is ready to act on a moment's notice. But the president is, I guess if you were a lawyer, he's making his case. He's giving them every opportunity. He basically is giving them the rope to hang themselves. And it seems like they're going to take it. And I actually don't see, as I pointed out with Ali Reza last night, and he agreed, I don't see how, in a way, they can agree. Because if they can get away with what they want and they can keep a certain amount of enrichment theoretically for peaceful purposes, then they can, when we're not looking carefully, they can continue to enrich. They also, because I don't know if this is part of the negotiation, as Ali Reza revealed last night, there is a major deployment in an area of Iran that's desert. I guess it's the province next to Tehran. in which they have been doing for more than 10 years. They've been doing the other part of being a nuclear power. And the part that they shouldn't be doing if they're doing this for peaceful purposes, they are extending the range of their missiles that would carry the nuclear weapons. Now, they say that they're doing this to explore space. But it looks like the missiles that they're using are missiles that you use to bomb countries, and not to go, unless they want to bomb Mars. So, I mean, it's just all bullshit, which is all they do. Which is why there's only one way the world is safe. And that's if all the nuclear material they have is destroyed and the Ayatollah and the reign of terror is gone. In fact, the president's desired goal of Abraham Accords and peace in the Middle East isn't going to happen if the Ayatollah remains in power. So I don't understand the reluctance of resisting regime change. Practically, you cannot reach your result as long as the Islamic Empire of Iran, or Iran exists as an Islamic empire, because the goal of the Islamic Empire is to destroy Israel and to destroy the Jewish people. It really is to destroy Christians too. I mean, all you have to do is read the Quran to figure that out. We also now have reports that clarify what we've always known, which is that the absolutely anti-American Biden administration, when they allowed all these Afghans to come in, 200,000, even though we have a lot of Afghans in Afghanistan who helped us, who've now been killed by the terrorist groups that were there with the weapons we left behind, that this group qualified for special immigrant visas. And the vetting done for them was warped by ideology. It was done under the enduring welcome program of the Biden administration and a group called CARE. And it was supposed to ensure that the people that were brought here and kept here served the United States. Well, none of that was ever done. CARE was a big advocate of open border immigration. It contributed to the project. Biden created it. And the Biden officials that were part of it never did any screening. And not only that, by the time we left, and the Afghan government was put into effect, they wouldn't cooperate with the screening. So again, we don't know who we got, except we do know there have already been several arrests for planned terrorism of the Afghans. CARE, and there are documents now that have been found where the CARE directors told the case managers to push along the files no matter what the background was, even though they would raise situations where an applicant's name would be the same as the name of someone on the official terrorist list. And they wanted to take more time to check it out. They were told, no, expedite the person. This has all been uncovered by a congressional committee and is going to be the subject of a hearing. Also, they uncovered fabricated recommendation letters from groups that don't exist about the character of these people, and a number of corrupt CARE contractors, many of them who were Afghan and handed out special favors in exchange for money. We also let in people who were on right away, we let in people that were on the terrorist list. And the Biden administration took 70 or 80% off the terrorist list. And they're hanging around here. We got rid of about only 20 people. And everybody else, there were, I'm trying to get the number here, that were on the terrorist list. 55. Yes, 55 were on the terrorist list. 9 are still in surveillance. And well, it got down. They determined that 46 of them, they took 46 of them off the list. That's how they figured out they're not terrorists. They just took them off the list. And the remaining ones, there's actually only one that they threw out of the United States. The other 9 are under surveillance. No, I'm sorry. There were 9 left. One of them they got rid of, and 8 are under surveillance. So they got rid of one person. It can't be that with that crazy situation that was going on, that only one terrorist came in. Well, it's certainly not true since last year, 2 Afghans were stopped before they could execute plans to kill Americans at polling stations in Oklahoma on Election Day. And then in April, another Afghan was stopped by police officers in Virginia, and he drew a handgun and was about to shoot them before they shot him. And there have been other investigations of Afghan terrorists. So it isn't just one that we let in. It's a lot more than one. And CARE aided and abetted this in a very similar way to how the Democrats in California are aiding and abetting the illegal criminals that were let in there. The amount of fraud in CARE was systemic, according to this report. And Sean Van Diver of the group Afghan Evag want Donald Trump to accept 500,000 or more Afghan immigrants, continuing, in effect, Biden's open border policy. Now, that'd be absurd. It'd be absurd to do it. It is true. The unfairness has been created and the confusion has been created by the Biden administration. And there probably are people left behind there who did help us. But they created that by taking the soldiers out before the civilians. And it certainly isn't in the numbers of 600,000 like this Sean Van Diver wants us to take. If we want to do individual analysis of people that we can determine actually cooperated with us, and we do it on a case-by-case basis, that'd be fine. But not some general open border garbage like Biden did. That just shouldn't be ever done again. And to show that we're not going to do it again, Secretary of State Rubio has canceled this CARE program and the Afghan relocation efforts. He's closed the office, and we let in 200,000. Now they want us to let in another 600,000. Ain't going to happen, because we have a president that cares about our safety and security, and not the rest of the world's. That comes next. Now, we should review just briefly the pretty amazing disclosure last night from Ali Reza of the Iranian dissident organization, and that is that in Saman province there are look to be about 10 sites where they are extending on a very intense basis the range of their missiles that are used for the delivery of nuclear weapons, which puts the lie to, we just want to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes. In fact, they don't use, or if they do, it's 1% nuclear energy. 1%. U.S. is about 20% nuclear energy. 1%. If that. They've got one nuclear reactor for the whole country. Why? Because they don't need it. They've got more oil and gas than they could possibly ever use. And it's a lot less expensive to use that. Very expensive to build nuclear reactors, which they would have to do. They don't have them. If they really were serious about this, they'd be building the nuclear reactors so that when they get to the point they have permission to do it, or they'd be able to use those reactors. They haven't built any reactors. They got one. But they have two. One doesn't work, and they have one that works. Maybe. They also are enriching uranium up to 60% and more. There's no nation in the world that enriches it up to 60%, except nations that have nuclear weapons or anticipate having nuclear weapons. The handwriting is on the wall that when they say they want it for peaceful purposes, they're telling the truth. They are lying. I do not know how you can negotiate with them. I don't know. I don't know how whatever they sign or whatever they say, it's worth the paper it's written on. They've proven over 40 years that they want to destroy us, they want to kill Jews, they want to kill Americans. They have killed Jews and Americans. They've killed a lot of Americans. That's why we kill Soleimani. So if it's justified to kill Soleimani, he did it on the orders of the Ayatollah, who's sitting there fat and happy and a billionaire. What the hell are we negotiating with him for? Sorry. I would handle it very differently. The damn things would be gone by now. They would not have nuclear power. They'd all be gone. If the United States military and Bibi Netanyahu tell me they can take them out, I would say, God bless you guys. Let's take them out. And then we'll have a safer world. Maybe we'll be able to make peace in the Middle East. And I don't understand why we want to make nice with the reign of terror. They sure haven't made nice with us. A lot of families are suffering, not having their kid that was killed by the Quds Force. Thousands. And they've lied to us constantly, and the world. Well, it's very, very concerning that a whole fan club has developed for this guy, Elias Rodriguez. Elias Rodriguez is the person who killed Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Pilgrim last week coming out of the Jewish Museum and yelling and screaming about freeing Palestine and killing Jews and whatever. He has now become something of a Luigi Mangione figure. All of these pro-Hamas groups are lionizing him on social media. Multiple Telegram channels, including the United Liberation Front for Palestine and the Resistance News Network, have circulated a petition to free Rodriguez. Now, you tell me why we're going to free him. We're going to put him on trial for murder. Hopefully federally, and we execute him. We'll free him then. We'll give him their body. If he's guilty, we got to presume he's innocent, but if he's guilty, we'll execute him and they can go bury him. And then they can have a big monument to him. And then when they show up at the monument, we can identify all the people who are traitors to the United States and have a nice record for the FBI like we had on the mafia. Remember at the wedding that begins The Godfather, the FBI was trying to take all the pictures? So we set up a big monument for Elias Rodriguez, and anybody who shows up honoring him, we take their picture. Odds are that, all of them will be Hamas supporters, Islamic extremist supporters of the Quran injunction and a directive from Muhammad to eliminate all of us Christians and Jews unless we pay them money. At least there might be some who are innocent. They don't know what they're doing, but at least we'll have a base on which we can operate and find out. Well, tonight is the congressional baseball game where the good guys have, a 4-game winning streak? The last one was 31-11. That was a football game. And this is of course, pardon me? Yeah, I heard an interview with a Republican and a Democrat today about it, and this is a good thing because we got to do the best we can to create some kind of a bond between these people who have the common purpose of making laws for us. This has become like a trench warfare, as opposed to what it should be, which is a reasonable debate. You know, the Senate always honorable this and it's a good idea because it reminds you that. But it's really hard when they're accusing you of being Nazis, and I'm quite convinced that they're either communists or they're unknowing victims of either political opportunism or brainwashing. You can't possibly support men going into ladies' rooms, men boxing with women, men swimming with women, and expect to have women's sports if you have some kind of basic commitment to American values of freedom. How you're taking away women's freedom to be able to engage in sports. So let's see where we're going. Is that a picture from it?
This is live.
So the behind this must be a
Domenici had some motion on his
He said,
pitch. He said, I just kind of went up there and took my wax and just tried to hope I made contact there. But President Biden had, in fact, played
It's a little nervous, Ted.
baseball game. And you know what uniform President Biden
did.
wore?
Must be a man on base or something. I don't know. He's walking around the mound. And
Maybe this is prescient.
Right.
I used to be a catcher, so I'm very attuned to the reaction of pitchers. Because some guys just do that.
Sure. 46.
Well, we're gonna want to get off a little bit early in our soccer time, so people can go listen to Dr. Maria.
Oh, we're up big. 10-2.
You know, you think.
And what inning? Did you see the inning?
There's a famous picture from Roll Call, the newspaper here in Capitol
10-2.
Hill, and there was a congressman
Does that say
from Cincinnati, Keating.
it's a 7-inning game?
And
Yeah. Yeah.
Johnny Bench. of course,
Well, I mean, it's a little
was
disappointing we haven't scored 31 runs.
And this was back in the early 70s. So
Johnny
this is a picture
Bench.
from the Roll Call archives, and it says Keating 5.
Oh, no
Which
way.
not until the 1980s.
Look at that hat. We like that hat.
Early 90s, you had the famous scandal of the Keating
scandal.
5.
Of course.
The Keating 5. John McCain, John
Well-
Glenn. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes a bit of weird numerology here on the diamond.
Okay, that is incredible.
So Tim Kennedy into the game here. You know, he had just been a member just a couple of months.
Been
last
wearing a
year
Dodger
in the
uniform.
special election.
I guess you can wear whatever uniform you want, huh?
He's
Yes, sir.
pinch running here. He took quite a shiner in the
Oh, they put in a pinch
congressional
runner.
practice earlier this year. He had quite a welt.
Representative Tim Kennedy. I wonder if he's a left-wing
Tim
fool.
Kennedy batting, not running men at first year, but this is his first time out. He got caught.
Boy, he kind of laid that one right in. Did you see that?
Absolutely wild rundown.
We'll watch this at bat. Might as well get a.
Had Pat Ryan and Tim
Any
Kennedy.
excuse
Oh,
to
Democrat in New
squeeze
York.
in
Well, he's
some,
probably a very big left winger.
How weird it was. Jake Elsey is playing center for the.
You think they cheat
Republicans,
in
not
baseball?
Playing right. He finally is the one who
Yeah.
tagged out.
Yeah,
I
no
don't know
Democrats-
who's pitching,
What?
Ted, but he doesn't seem to have much velocity.
Multi-out,
Fluger.
play. But he ran
Well,
all the
yeah,
way
these
into
aren't
the
exactly,
outfield.
He's a big guy.
Not exactly the New York Yankees out there, Mayor.
Down 0-2 here.
Oh,
To be honest,
come
better
on.
than you.
He's definitely
These guys
lost
are
a-
better than you would think. I wouldn't think a congressman could.
He's definitely lost a play. He puts this guy on. They should take him out.
You might notice
It's only a
that
It's only a 10-2 game. I
They're
mean, gee.
kind of giving a safe signal.
Yeah, we can't take any risks here. We cannot lose the Democrats.
You know, I pitched at Yankee Stadium once. I have
Oh,
a-
I gotta find that.
I have a 1,000 record. I pitched for the police department,
That's what he's signaling there.
and I won the game.
Signaling that you're running him
Well, we don't want to
up
keep
there.
people from watching Dr. Maria for
We
too long.
don't. We don't.
Yeah, got a
He didn't even realize he was struck out. Of course he's a Democrat. He's stupid. Look at him.
They can't count.
Yeah.
Look, he's getting ready to get ready. It's 3 strikes in baseball, jackass.
This
3 strikes.
Can't cheat at everything. Oh,
This
that
guy-
was a nice pitch.
This guy's got the wrong uniform on, the Democrat. He got a white uniform on. And they're the away team. And white uniforms are not, ooh, that was high.
But this guy can pitch, I will say, better than you would think.
How do you know that they can hit?
No, pitch. He can pitch.
I don't know. I haven't seen a pitch that was very impressive yet.
Whoa, that was a hit.
Oh my gosh. Look where they're playing.
Should be an easy fly.
Do you see where he's playing?
Just that.
He's
Yeah.
playing him like it's women's softball. The Democrats are a bunch of,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the end
Maybe
of
the Democrats could be allowed to play in women's sports.
Right.
And the women have beat them. Well, of course, you know I'm going to be not very generous to the Democrats on something that they are trying to ruin, which is sports, by allowing men to invade women's sports. But it is a good idea that they do that, and we'll see how it all ends. Now, you go listen to Dr. Maria. She's got a great show tonight on Lindell TV, and then you come back to us at 7 tomorrow on Lindell TV, and then at 8 tomorrow night on America's Mayor Live, and we'll catch you up on a lot of this stuff. I'm gonna calculate it at some point. A lot of this stuff doesn't get reported anywhere. Like I haven't seen any report on the big discovery in Iran of this major part of the desert that's being used to create missiles that can deliver long range, meaning like reaching the United States, nuclear bombs, which makes what they're saying a complete lie, which of course you know is a lie. I don't know. Sometimes maybe I just don't know all the facts. Yes, I do. Not always, but this time I do. And I know what the right thing to do is to protect us. Well, let's pray then for the people of Iran who can be delivered from. I really believe if we take out their nuclear facilities, I mean, you can't imagine the economic damage. Think of the amount of money they spent on this. $1 trillion. It could bring down the Ayatollah, which would be wonderful. For the Iranian people, they'd finally have freedom. It'd be wonderful for the Middle East too, because we could have peace. It's strange, that one regime stands in the way, but it's an evil regime. There's no qualification about that at all. Well, pray for the people of Iran, pray for the people of Israel, who are the people they want to eliminate, not the people of Iran, but the Ayatollah. Pray for the people of Ukraine and Russia, that they get out of this situation. And gosh, pray for all of us, that our country gets delivered from this terrible nightmare that we had, and that we reestablish ourselves as a just, fair country with truly equal rights for everyone. And I think the president's doing a good job pointing us in that direction, but he's sure as hell getting a lot of opposition, particularly by the courts. So we're going to stick with him and pray for him too. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them, And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common